know what the heck just happened. That was so weird. I like completely lost connection for a little bit there. I don't know. When actually we don't know, we moved to different countries and convene in a street in Mexico once he dies out. Oh, never mind, she's back. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the heck happened there. It was just all of a sudden I completely lost connection. I don't know what happened to my connection there for a second. It was just gone. But I'm back. I'm alive. I think. Oh, and now Discord is like not coming back for me though. Discord's like gone. What is happening today? Hello? Discord, please. Return to me. There must be, like, maybe there's something weird just going on in general in terms of, like, connection stuff. Because now all of a sudden I can't reconnect to Discord. It's so weird. Of course, as soon as I return to streaming, this is the kind of stuff that starts happening. Wait, let me see. Server status. Let's see. Huh. So, yeah, it says elevated latency and errors. Okay. So that's, like, something going on. Oh, fun. Guess we'll just hang out until Discord finally comes back then, because I now can't connect to Rolf to do the stream. Because Discord is just not functioning. That was so weird. I don't understand what just happened. Why everything just died for a second. Because, but yeah. So, RIP indeed. Exactly. Because I legit cannot get back on Discord. It just shows the, like, Discord loading thing. And I closed out. I reopened it. Maybe if I do Control-Alt-Delete for this. And, like, full-on end task Discord. And pull it back up. Hopefully, it'll come back. Oh, yeah. It says elevated latency and errors. We have approximately 50% of users back in and using Discord, but latency is still elevated. If you still aren't able to log in, you should be able to get in the near future. Latency will continue to be elevated until we are able to address the underlying database issue limiting throughput. Well, there is that, I guess. Womp womp. Gonna have to see if hopefully at some point during this stream it'll return. I guess for now I'll just oh, wrong thing. I think I will just start the game for now with Rolf in chat. until Discord returns and we can actually play the game. So I think I'll probably turn back on voice acting and we'll just play through until Discord returns and then Rolf can join the call. I can't believe this is happening today. Got some bad luck today. I'm glad we didn't start though. Can you imagine if we had started and we started going through it and then all that happened? Crazy. Crazy, crazy. I mean, if you don't want me... No! Rolf, that's not true at all! I legit just can't get on Discord. I could literally show on stream that it says that I can't get on. I'll fight ya. Likely story. It's like I put it on screen and I show it and Rolf's like, oh, that was photoshopped. I can see the watermark. Actually, let's do that. Yeah, hopefully Discord will return soon, but for now, this is like the best we could do. I can't believe it. She's making the image in paint as we speak. Yeah, it's just like a really terrible looking image. See? I told you guys. Let me see. Voice settings. Now we're back on return. Confirm. But yeah, so since it's already like an hour, we gotta start. Oh my gosh, that was a big hiccup. I don't really remember what we were doing last time though, to be honest. To be honest, I'm not sure I really feel up to doing the voices today anyway, so it's just as well. Aw, snap. Guess everything happens for a reason, you know? That's at least what my fam would always say. Everything happens for a reason. I like, looking at this, I still don't really remember what we were planning on doing in the game, so... Guess we're gonna just continue on and find out along the way what we were doing last time. Crazy. And Rolf, I'll let you know if Discord comes back to me at some point, because like I can see behind the screen, I can see Discord still loading and everything, so hopefully I'll notice when it finally comes back online. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh well. I hate to do this when there are so many calls. I insisted that he call me immediately if there was an emergency call.
ね、連絡先教えてくれる?
Oh yeah. Now I remember. She's having an affair. Amazing. But nah, now, like, seeing Okazaki reminded me what was going on last time. We were trying to solve that case, so we were looking at all the details, and then we decided to go and visit this one person involved with the case, and we decided to go with Okazaki to do it, and that's why we're here. I was, like, very confused for a second. I was like, what were we doing? I don't really remember. But now I remember what we were doing. Is this really what Japanese police cars are like? Just one piece of plexiglass for safety? Even their criminals are polite. Amazing. But yeah. Sitting next to me, the first thing that Okazaki said once the taxi started moving instantly set my heart on edge. It's not that, but now that I thought about it, it had been a few days since we met, and we hadn't exchanged contact info yet. Events had turned out the way they had, but it was still a problem if I got too close to him.
変なことに使ったりしないよ。もし危険があったり助けが必要な時は俺を呼んでほしいなって。
I still so panicked that I just blurted out whatever gibberish came to mind when he continued. Are you saying that you'll protect me?
君は職務外って分かってて X デー事件を捜査してるんだよね。理由は深く聞かないけど、警察官としてみんなの安全を守るために頑張ろうとしてるんだろうなってわかる。
He's definitely sending you dick pics later. Amazing.
でもそれってすごく危ないと思うんだ。柳さんたちがいるとは言っても、警察内部に協力者はいないだろうし。俺はね、捜査とかは向いてないけど、いざという時に守ることはできるから。
Okazaki. His supposed motives and gentle tone warmed my heart.
君を守らせて。危ない目にあったら、俺を頼って。ね。
He grinned, and I also smiled and nodded in response. Thank you. I'm happy to hear it. He had his own mission, but I was glad that Okazaki was worried about me. I was glad that a fellow police officer had affirmed that what I was trying to do. I thought I had to pursue this on my own, but I've always been uneasy about it. I was just a burden to Yanagi's team. Even while I struggled to contribute, I was painfully aware of my own uselessness. But...
今君がしなくちゃいけないことがある。君にしかできないことがあるんだよ。
While I was confused in front of the fire this morning, he had told me that. I realized that I had only realized my purpose in that moment because Okazaki had been there for me. He's helped me so much in such a short time. I realized, and then he realized, and that's when I realized, and then I realized, and then I realized. Well, I had people I was cooperating with. I hadn't met anyone I could consider an ally. Ultimate Game Writers make the pro tag not useless challenge 2023. I know, right? I know. Crazy. Like, it's so funny to me, like, seeing the difference. Like, I play a lot of Ultimate games on itch.io, and we've even played, like, some of them as well. And it's kind of so funny to see how different, like, the focus is and how they're written and what they're done. Yeah. Every young girl aspires to be a damsel in distress, right? Like, here's the thing. I understand, like, everybody likes the idea of having somebody there to, like, help them and protect them and, like, that sort of thing. So I understand from, like, that perspective. And because I like a good, like, my love interest came and saved me kind of situation. But the problem with, like, a lot of these Ultimate games is that's all that happens. It's never the other way around. Like, it's never like I did something to help everybody else. It's always everybody else has to help me all the time. And it's kind of like, then it becomes just annoying rather than like, ooh, like, that's romantic. It's more like, oh, I really am, like, I'm not really doing any favors to this story. Oh, Discord is back. I have returned. I am here. I'm alive. I have returned to the call. Hopefully it won't die again. I know, right? I know. Rolf, it's so, like, and, like, here's the thing. That's how a lot of these go. Is, like, they'll be like, oh, we'll have this main character who can do amazing things, but you never really get to see it in the routes. Like, I'm gonna say this from what I remember about this game. This route is pretty good for wanting to see the heroine be an awesome person, because Ichika in this route, if I remember correctly, does get some moments of being like a power couple with Okazaki, with her ability to, like, with firearms and all that stuff. So we are gonna get that at least. But yeah, definitely not, like, at the same level as, like, with Ebon Light, where we could literally beat up a whole, like, monster. Definitely not at that level. But definitely better than Hakuoki. Though I will also say that, to be fair, Hakuoki came out before this, and I do think that they're, like, slowly getting better with these kinds of things. At least I hope. But who knows? Who knows? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're the chosen one. You must risk yourself to save the world versus you are the chosen one. That means you're precious and must be protected at all costs. Go sit there and be protected. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like, and here's the thing, as I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a part of that for both, because I understand, like, the fantasy of, like, wanting that protection and care. So I understand it from that perspective, but when it's like that's all your character gets to do, it's like, why are you even in this story? You're basically just a prop then. If that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly, Rolf. That's exactly it. It's like you kind of only have that, and then it's not great that they're all like that. I mean, it. And the other issue is that a lot of times, like, the characters in these stories are also, like, not, like, interesting. Like, the female characters are usually very, like, bland and generic in a lot of ways. Like, how should I put this? Like, I've mentioned before that, I feel like I often relate more to male characters in stories than female characters. And I feel like a big part of that is because, like, male characters are usually a lot more, like, multifaceted, like, well-written characters, whereas the female characters in stories are often, like, very one-dimensional in comparison. And so to me, like, it's not all that weird to, like, you know, relate more to, like, male characters in stories when they're just overall better written characters. It's like, yeah, I feel like then it's kind of obvious that that would be the case. Yeah. And it is sad. It's also, I went on, I kind of went on a whole rant not too long ago when I saw, like, fandom metrics. Like, there was a recent thing on, like, what the most popular, like, pairings and stuff on AO3 is. And it was revealed, of course, that most, like, ships and stuff on AO3 are usually, like, white male / ships. And the person who saw these findings basically came to the conclusion that, oh, this proves that there is, you know, kind of sexism and racism in fandom. And to me, I felt like that wasn't entirely accurate. And the reason I went on a whole rant about it was because to me, like, fandom is a response to the media that's out there. And so people are just making works based on the works that they see on a day-to-day basis. And the sad thing is, despite like changes in recent years, still the majority of at least most major like movies and TV shows and stuff still mostly have like the main characters as like white men. And I feel like if that's like the majority of what you see, of course that's still going to be the majority of what the fan fiction and the fan art and all that stuff is going to be focused on, is that, because like that's mostly what you see and mostly what gets the most writing and the most like exposure. Yeah, exactly. So I felt like it was very like blaming it on like fandom, saying like, oh, fandom's like this, to me like completely ignores like the issues in just media in general. And like thinking of it as a more multifaceted issue rather than just, oh, it's this because of this, because it's not really as straightforward as that. Because from my experience, many people want to see more like more interesting female characters, more interesting people of color in stories and things like that, but it just doesn't happen as often as people want. And a lot of times, like, yes, if you look at just the straight up metrics based on how these characters are portrayed in the media that they come from, it does seem overwhelming in certain one ways or another. But I have seen so many times in fandom, people will, you know, latch onto these characters, and then in their fan art and fan fictions, they reimagine them as like, oh, but what if they were actually two women in love instead of two men? What if they were actually like lesbians? Or what if we reimagine this character from this book as like not being white but as something else? And so to me, it's very like only looking at the surface to say that, oh, this proves this, when it's actually a lot more of a complicated issue. Yeah. Yeah, there's fics for almost everything on there. I was surprised, like, I watched this really terrible Tarzan series with Azure a while back. It was like one season and it was super bad. It was like Tarzan was in New York City or something, and it was like really bad. And there was like multiple fanfics for it, and we were just like, why are people writing fics for this terrible show? But they were. People were like really loving that show. And that just George of the Jungle. I mean, it basically was, but like really bad. Like way worse than George of the Jungle. But yeah, anyways, I could go on a whole, like, I could write a whole essay on a lot of this stuff, but we should probably just continue with the game. Oh, and by the way, Rolf, if you do want to join the call, I am back in Discord. Or if you just want to hang out and chat, that's fine too. Either or. While I had people I was cooperating with, I hadn't met anyone I could consider an ally. But now that Okazaki was talking this way, I really want to have him as an ally. We need more Brendan Fraser in our lives, true. True.
じゃあメアドと番号交換ね。
Okay. I added Kei Okazaki to my phone's list of contacts. How reassuring. We hadn't known each other long, and we still didn't know much about each other. But just today alone, he had already helped me many times. Moreover, he said I could keep relying on him. It was heartening in a way I couldn't describe. Oh right, don't you have to protect Yanagi's team today?
今は吉成君に任せてあるから平気。そもそも彼らは一般の人たちと違って四六時中守らなきゃいけないほど弱くないから。
That's true. The fact that he understood this seemed to be an implicit acknowledgement that his protection assignment was just for pretenses. So they suspect Yanagi's team after all. If that was true, then it would be natural that he suspected me by association. Our exchanging of numbers and his offer of protection could just be part of his surveillance. Which is it? This weighs heavily on me. Okazaki's smile and his words, his voice that had encouraged me this morning. I don't want to doubt him. I didn't want to think that it was all lies. Even if I was under suspicion, I didn't want to just deny everything he'd done for me. Just as my spirits began to deflate, my phone vibrated in my hand. Huh? Because it had jarred me out of a taxing train of thought, I yelped in surprise. The sender of the message was none other than Okazaki, who was literally right next to me. Why is he... What? I want to see you laugh, stay strong, he says. I looked up with a blank expression on my face. Okazaki was grinning. Oh, we can choose what to send to him as well. Amazing. Don't reply to him. Do you suspect me? Or thanks. We're just gonna say he said he took things from inside the car. He's like, whoop. Block him. No, we're just gonna say thanks. Thanks, dude. Thanks. I must have made him worry. Maybe him texting as opposed to saying it directly was his way of showing that he cared. Thought made me feel warm inside, so I typed out a heartfelt reply. No, I said thanks, not thank you. There's a difference. Thank you is like really serious. Thanks is like me trying to be not as serious about it. He replied immediately. No, he does emotes. Gotta make him wait, otherwise you seem too desperate. I love the emotes. Hee hee. I couldn't stifle a giggle. It seemed unlike Okazaki to use an emoji in a message. Does it? I feel like that is very him. You're blocked. You're welcome. Afterward, we continued texting while we were right beside another. I'm hungry. What I should have for dinner? Are you eating at home? Hey Adam, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Welcome. We're literally chatting with our boy while he's sitting right next to us. Like we're texting him while we're just sitting right next to him. My brother likes hamburg. I prepared the base yesterday and it's sitting in the refrigerator. What does that have to do with that train of thought right there? This man's typing is atrocious. Big red flag. Got back home from a weekend trip. Heck yeah. Where'd you go, Adam? That's awesome. Sounds good. I'll get hamburg too. Will you cook it yourself? Oh, I can't make that. I'll find a place. Her brother is a big fan of German cities. Yeah, he likes to eat the entirety of Hamburg. He just swallows it whole like an eldritch monster. Blackpool. Ooh. Who the hell can't make hamburgers? I mean, here's the thing, Rolf. You asked that, but I legit, like, my sister can't cook to save her life, and she literally told me once that she was happy because she managed to boil potatoes, so without it turning bad. So there are definitely people out there who can't really cook. It was an odd feeling texting while we were right next to each other. I must say, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Life's meaning is like, you underestimate me. Oh no. But yeah, Adam, where is Blackpool? I don't think I've heard of that. The frivolous moments were enough to make me forget about all of the day's stress. Would you cook it for me one day? When I looked up, Okazaki was waiting for me with an expectant expression. Maybe if there's time. Yay! Looking forward to it. I didn't say I would, though. While exchanging carefree messages, our eyes met and we smiled. It's a coast at the west of the UK. Ooh, nice. I also went on a trip this weekend, Adam. I went to Toronto for my birthday. It was a lot of fun. Went to the Art Museum of Ontario with my parents. It was a good time. A good Tim. It was rainy, though. Oh, no! What did you do over there? On and off rain. As someone from the east of the UK, ew, Blackpool. He can't spell your and has zero cooking skills. Definite no. Amazing. This is so relaxing. I felt better when I was with Okazaki. I also realized that I could smile naturally. The moments lazily passed and I embraced their comfort. Finally, the approval to perform an interview came down. Ogata was pale. Before we could introduce ourselves, he had leaned in and started speaking.
私は無実だ。あれは正当防衛だったんです。目撃者だってそう証言してくれているのに、どうしてこんなに裁判が長引くんですか?
This man is lucky he's so pretty. But put all of his points into charisma. I mean, relatable. No, he also put a lot in strength. Because he can beat anybody up. He put a lot in strength and charisma, but not in some other areas. Went away for my mother. Ah, nice, nice, nice. I hope your mom had a good time. Hope you all had a good time, Adam. Was so... Yeah, we read that. That's...
あなたたちだって理解しているはずです。これが正当防衛と認められなければ、警察は再び大きな過ちを犯すことになる。
He must have been referring to his mistaken arrest in the past. In May, Ogata was marked as a suspect because the police had thought that he was acting out of revenge for his prior mistaken arrest. Then he was at the center of an incident in July, and now he was here in jail.
落ち着いてください。今日はあなたに質問があってきたんです。
Okazaki spoke to Ogata in a calm tone.
正当防衛とのことですが、当時的確に心臓を一突きしていますね。そういった訓練を受けたことがあるんですか？
何わけのわからないことを。あれはたまたまです。奴が振り回したナイフを奪った時に偶然心臓に刺さってしまったんです。
Ogata boldly spat out a retort while glaring at Okazaki. But it was easy to pick up the quivering in his voice. It's possible.
偶然あの場に居合わせて、偶然清水が取り落としたナイフを奪い、偶然相手の心臓を突き刺したんですね。
Yeah, it's a lot of coincidences.
何が言いたい?
Oh, his eyes opened! Oh, snap! Friday was day set off, Saturday spent walking around the seafront, night went out to have drinks with family. Sunday also stayed at Blackpool for most of the day, then went back to where we were staying and relaxing in the main area. Then today just killed time before setting off home. Heck yeah! Also went to the arcade. Nice! Accidentally stabbed him 37 times in the chest. Oh, that was an accident. I just was like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. That's actually what happened to Caesar. Julius Caesar is exactly Tomoki that kills people. I didn't know. Ogata was clearly irritated by Okazaki's unflinching calm. he slipped and fell on his own blade 40 times.
あなた方も私が計画的にあの男を殺したと言いたいのか。では私がストーカー男を挑発して逆上させ正当防衛に見せかけて殺そうという計画のもと犯行を起こしたと仮定するなら、私と清水の関係性は、動機は、X デー事件に関与しているという確たる根拠はどこにある？
Caesar and his killers actually just tripped and all fell down the stairs together, and they happened to have their knives with them. Amazing. Seeing that we didn't have any answers, Ogata smiled triumphantly.
何もない。なのに警察は私を女性を救った英雄どころか罪人扱いだ。5月の事件もそうだったな。私を誤認逮捕した警察官が殺されたからと当然のように私を容疑者扱いした。ご存知の通り、私には鉄壁のアリバイがある。その時期は海外旅行に行っていたからな。
そうですね。あなたに犯行は不可能です。
That's like bragging. Dude, you can't call yourself a hero. That's like bragging about being humble. I know, right? It's so weird to phrase it like that. To be like, I was a hero to that woman. Like, shut up.
開き直るか。それでこそ薄汚い警察らしい。お前たち警察のずさんな捜査で何人の被害者が出たと思っているんだ。被害者の人権を踏み潰し、自白を強要し、検挙率を上げることだけを考えている警察が真実にたどり着けるわけがない。私が勾留中もずっと X デー事件は起こり続けているじゃないか。せめてそっちを解決したらどうなんだ。
I had no retort for that. The truth was that the X-Day crimes were ongoing, and the body count continued to pile up. Even while I'm here now, somebody could be. When I gripped my knees in frustration, Okazaki put his hand on mine. When I looked up, Okazaki was staring straight at Ogata. It felt like the warmth of Okazaki's hand was calming me down. Huh? Suddenly, Ogata leaned back in his chair, adopting a confident smile. His smile disappeared and he folded his hands.
何でもない日常を生きていた。家族がいて、仕事があって、帰る場所がある。そんな普通の幸せな日常。だがある日、私にとっての普通はすべて崩れ去った。
A deep, stern, hollow voice emanated from Ogata's lips.
2年前のあの時もいつもと変わりない日のはずだった。私は通勤中、良かれと思って揉め事の仲裁に入っただけだ。
What is this? Is this Persona 5? where the main character tried to stop a guy and then was sent to prison for it and then lost everything.
何もしていない。私はただ日常を生きていただけだ。
Nanoni. Who gotta regain some of his composure and looked into our
今
eyes.
年の5月もそうだ。何もしていないのに当然のように犯人扱いされた。7月も女性を助けようとしただけなのに防衛を攻撃だと決めつけられた。お前たちは決して学習しない。何度繰り返しても自分たちが黒と決めたものを黒に塗り替える。
Ugata's words cut straight to my heart. Truthfully, I couldn't deny that there were problems in the police force.
想像できるか。一瞬で日常のすべてを奪われる苦しみが。信頼も名誉も愛も希望もすべてだ。
すべてだ。
私を見る目は汚物を見るものに変わった。
I mean, the thing is, like, it does make sense because it is like a problem where like it does happen where people try and stand up for others and then they get painted as like the bad guys. I mean, that's kind of what Persona 5 was kind of all about, was like how corrupt the whole system can be. So he's not wrong on some of this, but there is some issues with his story.
妻と子供は犯罪者の烙印を押された私から逃げた。
Because I do know that like just the culture in Japan around a lot of this stuff is different, and that kind of like impacts like especially like people who have gone like these criminal records and how significant it can be. Because like I feel like here, you know, a lot of people are kind of like, unless it's like something like really bad, I feel like most people don't always go based off of that kind of stuff. But I do know in Japan, like it's just so much a collective focused society rather than an individualist focused society that in moments like this, it doesn't surprise me that this would happen. I don't know if anything that I'm saying is making sense.
長年勤めていた会社からは腫れ物扱いされ、自主退社に追い込まれ、社会的に抹消された。私が生きていた証をすべて消されたんだ。
I couldn't say anything. I was touched by Ogata's tragedy, and I didn't think it could all be lies. Despite his constant brushes with the X-Day crimes, the first mistaken arrest must have... I was sure that he just wanted to live a peaceful life at some point.
他にも大勢いるはずだ。警察に人生を壊され、憎悪を燃やし、アドニスを正義と考える人間。
I mean, the problem here is that it's not just the police, though. It's kind of a society issue in general. Like, just to put it on, like, the police entirely isn't entirely correct, because the whole reason, like, it's not because of the police that his wife and kid left him. It's not because of the police that his job threw him to the side. It's because of society's view on people with criminal records. That's where the issue seems to mostly lie. Like, yeah, he probably shouldn't have been... Like, the police was a part of it, and, like, the mistaken arrest and all that aspect, but the stuff that came after was more of society just going, oh, you have a criminal record, that must mean you're bad, that's it. Even though that's not necessarily the case. And so for him to be like, oh, it was all the police's fault, like, no, a part of it was also how society views people who have criminal records, and how people kind of tend to think, oh, like, this person did this, or like this person might have done this or whatever, so that must mean that that's it, you know. Like, once you've done that, that's over. You're done for. Even though that's not necessarily the case. Like, it's even a problem even here where, like, people struggle to find jobs after they leave prison. Like, if they finish their sentence and they come out of prison, like, they struggle to get jobs because, like, employers see, oh, you have a criminal record, and they turn you away. And, so it's like a combination of, yeah, the police have made a mistake, but also it's not just that, it's society as a whole. And he's just only putting the blame on the police when it is like a more nuanced issue. You rob one old man and it haunts you forever, exactly.
私は決して有罪にはならない。私の行動が正義だったと世間が認める日が必ず来る。
With that, Ogata shuts his mouth. We couldn't get any more out of him. Okazaki also made to leave the room, but then...
俺にはあなたの気持ちを理解してあげることはできない。
Oh, snap. He murmured.
ただ最後に一つ聞かせてくれる？
He looked at Ogata with lonely
揉め
eyes.
事を仲裁するためだったのに5人逮捕で辛い経験をした。なのにあなたはまた同じことをした。危険が迫った女性を助けるためとはいえ揉め事に割って入ったのはどうして？
Ogata answered Okazaki's question with wordless
正
silence.
義のためだ。
For justice. Then he uttered that short phrase in an expressionless voice. Ogata had nothing to say after that. We left the detention center. On the way back, Okazaki mumbled.
新しい情報は引き出せなかったね。
Yeah, but it's a chance to get our bearings. Ogata had approved of Adonis because he believed the police had committed wrongs. I mean, it's not just that he believed the police had committed wrongs. They did make a mistake. Then surely Sugawara also bore the same animosity for the police. She was likely to sympathize with Adonis too. So it really wasn't merely a coincidence that Ogata stepped in that time. Somehow he made it happen deliberately.
あまりにも偶然が多すぎる。計画性があったものとして考えるべきだよ。
That means in this incident, Sugawara and Ogata are accomplices. Like, they were both working together on this. If it was a planned killing, then neither of them could be overlooked. What if Sugawara asked Ogata to commit the murder?
俺もその可能性を考えてた。彼女なしじゃこの計画は成立しないよね。
To provoke Shimizu, Sugawara just had to lead him to the scene of the crime. Ogata didn't know him, so he couldn't provoke him. Plenty of witnesses saw Shimizu chasing Sugawara that day. Ogata was implicated in previous incidents, so the risk of him killing someone would be too
い
high.
くら正当防衛を主張できても状況次第では厳罰が与えられるし殺人どころか揉め事の仲裁すら本来だったら避けて通りたいはずだよ。
Which means... No, they're not lovers. Okada and Sugawara were lovers. I went that far. What if, in the heat of the moment, Ogata just decided to go that far?
見返りって言うと
One of the officers killed in May mistakenly arrested Ogata in the past. It completely ruined his life. Oh, according to his own words, it was reasonable for someone in his shoes to consider revenge, right? So shouldn't we consider that Ogata the true culprit in May?
待って、さすがにそれは無理だよ。だって彼にはアリバイがあったんだよ。
Yes, that's why. Yeah, again, this is like something that really helps if you've seen like Sazasuka's route, because at the very beginning of the route you learn that, oh, this is all substitute murders, and that the people who are most likely to have done the murder are gonna have perfect alibis because somebody else in the organization did the murder for them, and then they do the murder for somebody else. And that's how they're getting away with it. Yo, there it is! It was a substitute murder! Could it possibly be a substitute murder?
交換殺人
Okazaki was surprised, but he nodded. His alibi of traveling overseas is ironclad, but looking at it another way, it's so watertight that it looks
5
prepared.
月の事件を尾形の代わりに誰かが実行して7月の事件を誰かの代わりに尾形が実行した、それならいろんな違和感も説明がつく。
In contrast with the vindicated look on Okazaki's face, my own thoughts were hazy. If they were substitute murders, the motive for the July murder would be revenge for Sugawara. And if Ogata and Sugawara were somehow connected, then Sugawara would have committed a crime on someone else's behalf.
もし X デー事件全体が交換殺人だとしたら他の月はどうなるんだろう。
Yeah. They were crimes carried out by Adonis. That meant there could have been a different agent committing the murders each month. Every suspect in the X-Day crimes thus far had unnaturally perfect alibis. It was likely that each crime had been committed by a proxy who wouldn't have any direct motive. But the scale is just too massive. Even if we chased down the lead for one crime, it would be very difficult to nail down proof. This is just... I'm getting a headache. My brain was fried from information overload. Overload. A hand landed gently on my head, followed by a sigh.
さすがにこれ以上は捜査本部に任せないと。俺たちだけで謎を解くには規模が大きいよ。
As he patted me on the head, my anxiety slowly faded. The feared information overlord.
君の本来の役割は何だっけ？
To protect the safety of Shinjuku's residents.
そうだったよね。ちゃんと覚えてて。いい子いい子。
With a satisfied smile, Okazaki removed his hand from my head. The warmth vanished too, leaving me feeling slightly alone. Thank you, Okazaki.
俺は何もしてないよ。
He always found a way to bring me back to reality, just like he did when I had panicked at the scene of the fire. He considered the things that were important to me as if they were important to him too. All he does is help me. I felt guilty about it, but it also filled me with renewed resolve. Yes, my true duty as a police officer was to ensure the safety of the public, and to listen to what was in their hearts. I didn't intend to ignore the caller in the X-Day investigation, but this was a goal that I couldn't push to the background. Sugawara. If the X-Day crimes were planned substitute murders, then she had to be involved. But this all had spawned from police arrogance. I couldn't ignore that inconvenient truth. The police should have protected her from Shimizu. If they had, she never would have fallen this far. I'm going to see Rika Sugawara once more.
どうして？
Okazaki's reaction made it clear that he didn't agree with this course of action. The chance that she is involved with this crime is rather high. I think I can persuade her before the detectives catch up to her. We were running out of time. If she confessed, her sentence would be lighter. There was still a chance. If there was no evidence she'd acted on her own, she could have been threatened by Adonis. When I brought it up to Okazaki, he thought silently for a moment.
それは警察官としてやっちゃいけないことだよね。
Huh? When I looked up, Okazaki wasn't smiling. He was looking at me coolly.
捜査権限のない人間が容疑者に接触して事前に捜査内容を漏洩することになる。証拠隠滅や逃走の幇助って形になるよ。こっそり事件のことを調べるじゃ済まない。 バレればよくてクビ、悪くて今度は君が罪に問われることになる。
But if I can just convince her to confess and turn herself
君
in.
は菅原梨香が事件に関与したそもそもの原因は警察にあるって思ってるんだよね。
Yes.
気持ちはわかるよ。警察の対処が甘かった事実が心苦しいのもね。でもじゃあ警察が悪かったですって謝ればどうにかなる問題じゃないでしょ。情状酌量の余地があったとしてもそれを判断するのは俺たち警察じゃない。
That, I know that, but...
警察にも不祥事はたくさんあるよ。誤認逮捕に冤罪、捜査ミスに収賄、もっと小さな問題なら数えきれないほど。もちろん減らす努力はすべきだけど、その全てに心を砕いてたら警察官としては生きていけない。警察は守るための組織だよ。でも何かを守るために犠牲は出る。全部守るなんてことは絶対にできない。全部選ぼうなんてことしたら逆に救えるはずだった人たちを救うことができなくなるんだ。人には役割がある。守ると決めたならそのために譲っちゃいけないものがあるはずだよ。
I couldn't think of a reply to Okazaki's coolly made points. What he was saying was logical. It was the correct mindset for a police officer. Might think it was naive and irrational. Okazaki is saying this for my sake. I understood that well enough. I didn't think that he was being cold. But what was this? I feel detached. The idea that small sacrifices had to be made. Hesitation towards one's own duty. Killing one's ego to be part of a larger purpose. As I was moved by his unwavering conviction, I also felt a distance open up between us. My voice got caught in my dry throat, but I had to say what I was thinking. If the police ever hurt me or anyone close to me, I don't know what I'd do. Okazaki was silent for a while. He seemed to be sizing me up. I was afraid that I disappointed him.
普通はそうだよね。簡単には割り切れない。
But Okazaki returned to his usual smile.
君は優しくてまっすぐな子だから。誰かの傷を自分のことのように考えられるのも本当は悪いことじゃないって思うよ。
Okazaki.
でもいちかちゃん、君の本来の役割を忘れないで。自分の願いを叶えるためには何かを切り捨てなきゃいけない時がきっと来るはずだから。
Yeah. He really had said those things solely out of concern for me, knowing that I couldn't simply reject his words, but I also couldn't accept them right now. Okazaki, you're strong. The words leaked out as I thought how weak I was. Okazaki's eyes went wide in surprise.
俺は強くないよ。弱いからたくさん背負えないだけ。
I'll never get over how freaking weird his hand looks. I need to mention that. Like, I think about it every time he does this pose with his hand. Just how weird his hand looks. He has, like, freaking yaoi hands. Why is, like, I get it. Drawing hands is hard. It's just so weird. My man got Marfan syndrome, yeah. Like, what's going on here? And where's his last finger? I guess it's, like, hidden behind there, but it just looks so weird. It's like... I don't know. Then he mumbled something sadly. I recalled a conversation we'd had before.
俺が守るべきものはね、特別で大切でとても重くてかけがえのないもの。
He became heartless for that which he protected. He had that determination. What about me? I imagine a pain coming from my neck. The collar under my scarf weighed on my mind. I wanted it gone. I wanted to solve the cases. I wanted to protect people from harm as a cop. They were all my goals. I hadn't prioritized any over the others. But there'd come a time when I'd had to choose. Could I really make that choice?
もうこんな時間。暗いし、家まで送ってくよ。
Thank you. The usual smile and the usual words. It was like nothing had changed. I thought I'd gotten closer to his heart, and then I felt that it had moved even further away. The next day, I decided I'd go to Rika Sugawara's residence under the guise of a patrol again, but Mochida was next to me, and so was Okazaki for some reason. Oh my gosh, I'm getting surrounded by the guys. Mochida approached me with a confused expression. I'm not sure myself.
はじめまして。俺は警視庁警護課の岡崎圭です。
Okazaki grinned as usual, not seeming to read the situation.
その警視庁の警護課って SP ですよね。そんな方がなんで星野と知り合いなんですか？
Oh my gosh. Well.
いろいろありまして。いろいろっていうのはどういう？いろいろありまして。
What is this interaction? He's pressuring Mochida. He's like, a lot has happened, okay? A lot has happened. A lot has happened. And Mochida's like, okay.
それより持田さんにはいちかちゃんが日頃からお世話になってるみたいでありがとうございます。は？
Well, he's what kind of greeting was that? Is he acting like a relative or something? He's like, thank you for looking after Ichika for me. I definitely know Mochida much longer than Okazaki. I didn't know if Okazaki was doing this on purpose, but it was confusing.
あ、いや、こちらこそお世話に。っていうか、星野とはどういうご関係で？関係。
I have a bad feeling about this. We're just acquaintances.
会って数日だけど、一気に距離が縮まった感じかな。ね。
Okazaki, don't put it like that.
一気になる。
He's. Oh my gosh.
とても仲良くさせてもらってます。
No! Why would you put it like that? Oh my god. Mochida's like, dang it, I was rooting for Yanagi this whole time. We have a whole betting pool.
そうですか。それはめでたいというか。
Mochida's like, I see Ichika like my little sister. I don't want to think about this. This is just like earlier with Sakuragawa. He's completely misunderstanding.
今日の巡回は俺も同行させてもらいます。よろしくお願いします。はい？星野、どういうことだ
？All I can do is mislead him by laughing. It all started earlier this morning.
焼死体の被害者の身元が判明しました。木賀敦36歳。前科あり。多数の女性に対しストーカー行為を繰り返し、準強姦罪での逮捕歴があります。
What does this mean? I'm very confused about the wording for this.
実刑4年の判決を受けており、刑期を終えて半年前に出所しています。
Just 4 years for all of that? Dang. I have to go see her. Once she was under Investigation HQ's control, it would be difficult to meet with her. I didn't intend to obstruct the investigation, but for some reason, I couldn't let this go. There was no doubt that Rika Sugawara held the key linking the stalking incidents.
捜査権限のない人間が容疑者に接触して事前に捜査内容を漏洩することになる。証拠隠滅や逃走の幇助って形になるよ。こっそり事件のことを調べるじゃ済まない。バレればよくてクビ、悪くて今度は君が罪に問われることになる。
I always find it so funny when visual novels give these flashbacks all the time, because a lot of times we have just seen it and now they're showing it again. Like, we don't know what the frick is going on. It'll be alright, I know. It'll be alright. Forget about all the stuff he said. Going to see her today? I am. I'll be okay. I won't do anything crazy. I'm coming with you! But you have your job. I told you, right? Let me protect you. What now? Honestly, the chances were high that Rika Sugawara was involved in some form. I had to be careful in case the darkest scenario came to pass. It would be a relief if Okazaki was with me. Could I ask you to do that? Of course, we're on friendly terms now, so obviously I want to help. Friendly. She's like, I don't know if that's the term I'd use. But sure. In Okazaki's mind, we were apparently now friendly with each other. I have seen him quite a lot over the past few days. I was bewildered, but there was a happiness inside me that I couldn't hide. When I read his message, it unconsciously made me relax. We still didn't know each other very well, but it made me happy to know that he considered us to be on good terms. Maybe I'm a little embarrassed. Thank you. See you soon.
よくわからんが SP の方についていただけるならありがたい。失礼のないようにするんだぞ、星野。
Oh, Mochida is such a good guy. Best boy. Yes, sir.
では岡崎警部補、よろしくお願いします。
I felt terrible seeing Mochida have to humble himself like that. Now that I think about it, Okazaki was an SP officer for Central HQ, so his jurisdiction superseded ours. His rank was assistant inspector. Maybe I had been acting a bit too casually towards him around the office.
俺は持田さんとも仲良くなりたいな。だっていちかちゃんの先輩なんだし。
いえ、仲良くとかとんでもない。恐縮です。
Mochida, I'm so sorry. I mentally apologized. When we arrived at Rika Sugawara's apartment, I took deep breaths to calm myself down. Mochida stood by at the building's entrance. Okazaki was lurking in the shadows down the hall just in case something happened. He concealed himself at a distance that was just far enough away that he could still hear what was going on. I checked that we were ready and then rang the doorbell. Sugawara came out and when she saw that it was me on the monitor. She came out when she saw it was me on the monitor. Ah, thank you for the other day. I want to talk today. Huh? Something was wrong. She was in an uncannily good mood.
昨日の焼死事件、被害者の身元が判明したそうね。
She seemed quite happy about this news.
あの男が何をしたか知ってる？女性を付け狙うだけじゃなくて、ゴミを漁ったり、盗撮したり、手紙を勝手に開封したりしてたのよ。
I like that she's like an even open their mail. I don't know. I feel like the trash and private photos are even more than opening the mail. But maybe that's because most mail that I get is like bills and stuff. So it just doesn't feel as big as the other two to me.
盗聴器で生活音すべてを録音して、わざわざそれを送りつけもしたわね。
Now that's messed. That's really
そ
weird.
れから自分の体液を玄関になすりつけていったこともあったわ。ご丁寧に盗撮した写真付きでね。
Oh, what the frick? If he's opening the bills, can he at least pay them? Yeah, exactly. Can you pay my bills for me? Yeah, that's crazy.
あることないことを書き連ね、勤務先には年上の男と不倫をしていると嘘の密告電話をしたわ。
This guy is doing it all. That's
それ
crazy.
から大量の手紙を送りつけたりもしていたわね。安っぽい愛の言葉を並べた手紙。
Did that happen to you too? She answered me with a smile. I knew it. I grew tense as I connected the dots in my head. If she had been harassed by Kiga, yesterday's burn victim, then that would definitely link her to both the arson murder and to the crime in July. Yeah, I know, right? He's doing like all this stuff. That has to take a lot of time and effort. Dang. In other words, she was with Adonis.
あの人が私を救ってくれたの。ただ泣いて逃げ惑うだけの日々をあの人が終わらせてくれたのよ。
So the man you love is...
あなたにも愛する人ができたの？
Oh no, life's meaning, no! Eh? I was taken aback by her sudden off-topic question. Rika Sugawara squinted at me for a while, then she smiled.
そうだったのね。何か変わった気がしたのよ。私はね、初恋なの。だから嬉しい気持ちと同じくらい怖さもあって。ねえ、あなたの愛する人はどんな人？その人のことを考えるとどんな気持ち？
Sugawara blushed as she asked me. She looked kind of like she was a schoolgirl gossiping. Clearly, this conversation was going nowhere. Maybe she was caught up in her obsession because her demeanor had completely changed from earlier. She sidled up to me with a friendly look. This could be my chance to get intel from her. Well, the guy I like... is very reliable. I mean, that is the case. He's very reliable. I just said the first thing that came to mind, but Sugawara giggled innocently.
ねえ、場所を変えて話さない？どうせ近くに男がいるんでしょ？
Oh, well... Hesitating, I glanced towards where Okazaki was hiding, but nothing happened. He should tail us without letting himself be noticed. Thinking that, I nodded. Sugawara guided me through the back door of the apartment complex. I feared Okazaki would explain things to Mochida. I couldn't let this chance escape now that I had gotten Sugawara to be more positive.
こっちよ。
We walked through several narrow paths in the residential area until we finally arrived at a... Oh, park! Is this park? This is... I could still remember it clearly. Oh, frick. But yeah, I do really like this image. As Rolf mentioned the last time, like, you can actually see the person, like, burning alive in the flames. And it really does make the image, like, much more impactful than, like, if it was, like, really in your face. I feel like the subtleness of it, like, makes it a lot more horrifying. Crimson flames. A still blackened figure. Withering heat.
そこのベンチに座りましょう。
But yeah, it does kind of make it a lot more realistic, and I think that's what adds to the horror. Yeah, she said that. Sugawara shouldn't have known what had happened here, but she calmly sat down on the exact bench. Oh, frick. Also, at first I didn't see the body at all, so I thought it was just some vandalism. Amazing. A man had burned to death here yesterday. And how is the place, like, how is it open already? How is it open already if there was a whole thing that happened? Wouldn't it be closed off for a while? Like, it's only been a day. How are we able to come back here? The police cordon had already been removed, but it was still being patrolled by the police. Why did she bring me here? I was bewildered, but I sat down next to her. It would be difficult for Okazaki to eavesdrop on us here, no matter where he had hidden himself. I hope this all works out.
私ね、恋バナってしたことないのよ。初恋だって言ったでしょ？付き合ってくれるかしら？
Love stories? Yeah, he just goes like, but yeah. A potential murderer was getting excited about gossiping with me in a park. This was all too surreal. Relax, I have to stay calm and coax out her story.
その人のことを考えるとね、今までの人生がどうでもよくなるの。私はこの人のために生まれてきたんだって心から思ったわ。その人のためなら何だってできる気がするの。
But yeah, life's meeting barbecue gone wrong. Oh snap. And then, like, Adonis is like, this was an X-Day incident. And the guy's like, I literally just burned some stuff. I'm sorry. What's he like?
そうね。優しい人。実はね、その人のことあまりよく知らないの。でもいいの。運命の人だって分かってるから。だって、あの人は私の神様なんだもの。
In what way is he kind?
私の悲しみに共感してくれたわ。最初は私が受けた傷なんて分かりっこない。口先だけで同情してるんでしょって疑った。でも違ったのよ。あの人は私の悲しみも苦しみも全部理解してくれていたわ。まるで自分のことのように悲しんで泣いてくれた。諦めなくていい。怯えなくていい。もう悲しまなくて済むようにって私に力を与えてくれた。
You've been through a lot.
そうね。今となってはもうどうでもいいことだけど、毎日世界のすべてが敵に見えたわ。ここ昨日の焼死事件の現場だってあなたなら知ってるでしょ？
Yeah, I did. I was here. Yes, I do.
さっきも言った飢餓という男はね、たくさんの女性に愛を訴えていたの。殺したいほど愛してるんですって。でもおかしいわよね。それほど愛する人が何人もいるなんて。彼の愛は自己満足で軽かったのよ。なのにあれだけのことをされて許せるわけがないでしょ。毎日毎日どこに行っても監視されて、その日の私の行動をすべて報告してきて、ポストには毎日分厚い愛の手紙。何度引っ越しても何度警察に訴えても何度もついてきた。
Sugura's voice grew increasingly grim. I could hear the madness seeping into her voice as she relived her past fears. Just listening to this is painful. Even Ogata must have felt that same massive sense of despair. And someone had taken advantage of it, Adonis probably. You're a victim. You deserve sympathy for everything that happened to you in the past. So, don't add anything else to the list of what you've...
ねえ、あなたの好きな人は？
Eh?
頼りがいがあるって言ってたわよね。他にはどんなところがいいの？
Sugawara wasn't paying attention to me. No, she's pretending she didn't hear me. She had brought me here on purpose, meaning she was probably ready to be arrested. She wasn't even trying to hide her involvement with the murder. Or maybe she knew that there was no possibility she could escape it. She could also be allowing herself to be captured on Adonis's orders.
ねえ、聞いてるの？恋バナに付き合ってくれるんでしょ？
The sight of Sugawara acting like a girl in love made my chest tighten. She had committed sins to defy her tragic past. She was even prepared to be caught. And now she was acting like she had recovered a long-lost treasure. It was impossible not to feel for her. The guy I like is a very strong man. There was no such person, but I spun a tale to satisfy her request. Okazaki suddenly came to mind. Of course, I didn't feel that way about it. But he wanted to help, and I felt better when he was around. And sometimes he made me anxious. She's like, oh, I get this weird heartburn in my chest when I think about him. But that's a whole other thing entirely. Those feelings sounded similar to hers. There are times when I don't know what he's thinking, but he's very gentle. He's always concerned for my sake. When I'm lost, he doesn't just encourage me, he shows me where I need to go.
人ね。
Yes, he has incredible focus on his goals. He's strong. Actually, I didn't know what Okazaki wished for, but I knew that once he decided on something, he was stubborn and unyielding. It's only been a few days, but I guess I've learned a few things about him.
素敵だわ。あなたの恋、うまくいくといいわね。
Thank you. Miss Sugawara, how are things progressing with your partner?
進展？そうね。叶うなら一緒に死にたいわ。
What? Her muttered reply was full of affection and sadness.
寒くなってきたわ。戻りましょう。
Okay. Sugawara quickly rose and I hurriedly followed her. I still hadn't gotten her to tell me anything that could be used as a solid lead. I also hadn't thought of any way to convince her to stop. On the way back to Sugawara's home, I thought about how to solve this. So she really was one of Kiga's stalking victims. She was holding a piece of paper that was like the ones I had seen burning around the dead body. The answer came naturally when I pieced together all the fragments of information I had so far. In the past, she had received that note from the stalker Kiga. She should have been safe once Kiga was arrested, but then another stalker targeted her, Shimizu. On top of all that, she felt cornered once Kiga was released. I couldn't pretend not to see it anymore. While I didn't know if she'd directly participated in the killing, she was undoubtedly a suspect.
楽しかったわ。付き合ってくれてありがとう。
I love her outfit, like, so much. I would wear this outfit. Oh, not at all.
もう会うことはないと思うけど、あなたの恋、応援してるわね。
With that, she started to re-enter her apartment. Please wait.
何？
Now wasn't the time to fuss over decorum. This is what I should do. I wanted to protect those who'd been hurt. I just couldn't compromise on that. I don't care if I lose my job. Before I knew it, I'd already asked the question. Adonis threatened you, didn't they? You told me what happened to you. I know that you're not trying to run away, but... As I was about to try and convince her to turn herself in, Sugawara...
何を言ってるの？
Her demeanor abruptly changed.
脅された？私が？あの人が私を脅したっていうの？
But you could have been instigated.
ふざけないでよ！
I stiffened at the angry shriek. Her eyes were now burning with unimaginable rage.
何がわかるっていうの？あの人の何がわかるのよ。私は脅されてなんていない。やっと普通に愛することを知ったのよ。やっと普通の人間になれるのに。
Miss.
私は生まれ変わるの。邪魔しないでって言ったでしょ。あの男が
Yeah.
されて、やっと普通の生活に戻れると思ったのに、どうして私ばかりがこんな目に遭うの？普通に好きな人から愛されたかっただけ、愛したかっただけなのに、私を愛するのはいつもおかしな男ばかり。どうして？
She's not listening anymore. I glanced down the hallway and spotted the cuff of Okazaki's uniform. I could handle a woman of her size by myself, but I'd need backup if she turned violent. I might need him to step in if things escalated much further.
でもね、もう昔の私じゃないの。だって生まれ変わったんだもの。今の私は愛する人から必要とされてる。ちゃんと役目をこなしてる。
Yeah, she definitely has had basically like a psychic break. Which is really sad. It is really sad. I feel like she's like probably one of the most, like, of all the people involved with Adonis, she's definitely one of the ones that I feel the most, like, sympathy for. Like, I think a lot of them have their reasons and motives that I understand, but, like, for her, I feel like she's basically had, like, a mental break after everything that's happened, understandably so, and it's very sad. Hi, Pond! Welcome to the stream. How's it going? I love you very much. How are you doing, Pond?
ちゃんと愛し愛されてるのよ。ね、すごいでしょ。素晴らしいことでしょ。
Sugawara seized me by my shirt collar, her eyes bloodshot. My shirt button popped open with her sudden pull. My collar had been exposed. This is bad, but if I tell her it's just an accessory... Oh boy! Oh boy! Things have gotten bad. I covered my neck in a flurry, but Sugawara was staring directly at my neck.
何それ。あなたターゲットなの？
Huh?
それとも仲間なの？私は聞いてないわ。ゼロがあなたに与えたの？特別に警察の人間なのに？あなたはカウントダウンに参加してないわよね。手を汚してないのにどうして？なんであなたなの？
Nah. Just hold on. I don't know what you...
嘘よ。嘘だわ。ゼロが選んだのは私なのよ。
I stepped back in confusion. I had no idea what she was rambling about. Suddenly, Sugawara clutched her head in her hands and squatted down, moaning. What's wrong? I rushed over, worried. She was muttering something to herself.
怒っているの。ごめんなさい。お願い。怒らないで。お願いだから。そう。この女は仲間なのね。あなたにとって大事な人。そうなのね。
Is Sugawara?
本当にごめんなさい。許して。今すぐこの女を殺してみせるから。
Oh, snap! Oh, snap! There was a sudden flash of light from above. She was swinging a knife down at me. I immediately dropped to the ground in response. Okazaki has silently appeared, snapping a kick that knocked Sugawara's knife away. The knife clattered to the ground, spinning. Okazaki! As Sugawara recovered and advanced again, Okazaki took hold of her hand and... It all happened in an instant. And then he kicks her over the railing. What? She lost consciousness and fell to the ground.
柔道でいう締め技をかけただけだから命に別状はないよ。
Thank you.
怪我はない。
No, I'm fine. As I said that, I looked at Sugawara on the floor. She recognized my collar. That could only mean that she had a definite connection to Adonis. But what did she mean by comrade? And she said something about the countdown. And who's this Zero? I was confused, but I tried to maintain at least the appearance of composure. Okazaki, arrest her for obstruction of a public servant's... But just as the words were leaving my lips, I stiffened as an unbelievable scene began to unfold before my eyes. Aw, snap. Okazaki, please, this isn't the time for jokes. He can see your collar, Ichika! I managed to get those words out, but once I saw his eyes, I was terrified. Those were not the eyes of a man who was joking around. Yeah. I tried to cover up my neck, but it was too late. He had already seen everything. That was a mistake. I frantically searched for the right words, but my thoughts were distracted by a different source of dread. Okazaki, a police officer, had learned about the existence of my collar. If the police found out, I was to be executed. No, not here. I recalled the threat I'd been issued before, and I couldn't stop myself from trembling. I had no idea when the pain of the fatal poison being injected would come.
Okazaki-san. 彼女は我々の良き理解者です。 He's
like, oh snap, you're more kinky than I thought. I don't know about this. Okazaki expressively diverted his pistol's aim from me to the collar.
星野一花さん、君はアドニスの一員、X デーに関わる犯人、脅されているだけの警察官。
Okazaki's eyes narrowed and his finger came to rest on the trigger of his gun. This was no joke. He'd probably shoot me without hesitation if he didn't like my answer. If I spoke the truth, I'd be poisoned to death. If I couldn't think up of a convicting lie, Okazaki would shoot me. My dilemma played out in an endless mental loop, and I broke out in cold sweat.
彼女の代わりに我々が答えましょう。彼女は我々に必要な人間であり、あなた方警察の味方でもある存在です。彼女は善良な人間です。むやみに死なせたくなければ、決してこのことは口外しないよう。ですが、我々の邪魔になるようであれば、彼女のことも排除します。
The voice stopped. There was a strained silence. I stood stock still. The silence seemed to go on for forever. Okazaki's pistol, the barrel never wavering, stayed trained on me. Oof! Oof! We're on chapter 3, guys! Woo! That was intense.
昨日起きた事件の近所に住んでるのよ。 怖いから引っ越したいんだけど、補助は出るわよね。なんだったら新居を用意してくれてもいいわ。
I apologize, miss, but that's outside the scope of problem that the police office is able to address.
区民を守るのが警察の仕事でしょ。今度私が事件に巻き込まれたらどうしてくれるの？
Exactly, Pond. Exactly. I'm very sorry.
爆発音が頭から離れなくて眠れねえんだ。どうして事件が起こる前に防げなかった？
Sir, you're absolutely right. We're doing all that we can to stop these crimes.
綺麗事はいいんだよ。さっさと全部解決しやがれ。
As somebody who works in customer service, I feel Ichika's pain. Oh, shoot, I didn't mean to do that. How did I do that? How did I get here? I sighed helplessly as I warily finished processing the last of the day's incessant calls from the citizens. They were all regarding the new X-Day crime that just occurred yesterday. I kept busy, but all I could think about was what had happened.
つまり君はその首輪で脅されてるってこと？
I was trembling too much to give an answer, but I managed to nod at him. After letting out a small sigh, Okazaki quietly lowered his gun.
脅されて警察の情報をテロ組織に与えてるの？
Even if I wasn't actively doing so, so long as I had the collar, that's what was happening. I almost started to explain, but then I swallowed my words. Right now, anything I said would just sound like an
脅
excuse.
しなら何か弱みを握られてるんだよね。
There is a poison injector in this collar. If I tell the police, I'll be killed immediately. Oh no, lives meaning no. I felt disillusioned just saying it aloud. Up until now, I thought that I was personally key to cracking the X-Day incidents wide open somehow. I figured that if I had a connection to the criminals behind the collar, I had a lead. But it was really just my own pride saying that. I say that I want to protect the people who have been hurt as a police officer. But I honestly just didn't want to die. That was truly the strongest motivation I had.
毒で殺されるって言われたら怖いよね。逆らえなくても当たり前かもしれない。毒が本物だって示すために最初に何かされた？
Yes, they gave me a dose of slow-acting poison first.
そっか。それじゃ仕方ないよね。
His tone was sympathetic, but I thought I could see disappointment in Okazaki's eyes. Maybe I wasn't imagining it. I had no idea how he thought of me right now, but I was afraid of disappointing him.
でもね、今君が言ったことが嘘じゃないって俺には判断できない。状況から見ればスパイだって言われた方が納得できるからね。
Yeah, his eyes were full of caution. It felt like they were piercing through me. I couldn't force myself to move or to even just breathe. It's already been a week. I hadn't seen Okazaki since then. He had always been kind and friendly to me, so maybe I'd felt dependent on him. From the start, he had been a loyal police officer. It was reasonable for him to feel hostile towards someone that could be linked with the terrorists. But if he had actually shown me a little bit of his trust, then I had betrayed him.
君は優しくてまっすぐな子だから。誰かの傷を自分のことのように考えられるのも
Yeah.
本当は悪いことじゃないって思うよ。
Honestly, Lives Meeting, I've thought the exact same thing. I'm like, you can't like tell him, but you should probably like do like some charades. Be like, okay, here's the thing, and then he can try and guess. Or write it down, because it's been proven in other routes that the caller can only like hear what's going on. It can't see what's going on. So you could just write everything down and give it to somebody.
でもいちかちゃん、君の本来の役割を忘れないで。自分の願いを叶えるためには
We've already seen all this. I'm skipping it. I've been fixated on the idea of being a police officer, and he had encouraged me repeatedly. I'd betrayed someone who had cared so much for me. I mean, I wouldn't say that. What else were you supposed to do? You're kind of in like a really weird position. Mochida had noticed the commotion after the altercation. He and Okazaki had helped to take Sugawara into custody. Then he had left without a word about the incident. He didn't even out me to Mochida. Rika Sugawara had been arrested not for interfering with my police duties, but as the perpetrator of the arson murder on the 8th. But during interviews, she had become frightened and distracted, vehemently insisting that she knew nothing. When I heard that, I thought something was off. According to Shirashi, during the interrogation, she...
知らない。私、本当に何も知らないんです。確かに清水にも気がにもずっとストーカー被害を受けていました。怖くて気持ち悪くて警察は全然取り合ってくれなくて何度も死のうとしたわ。楽になりたかった。でもそれと同じくらいあいつらのことも殺してやりたいってずっと思ってました。それは本音です。でも実際には殺してません。当たり前でしょ。そう思ったからって本当に殺せるわけないじゃないですか。殺せるわけない。だって私はずっと怖かったんだもの。反撃したら私が殺されるかもしれない。うん。監禁されていたぶられて殺されるよりひどい目に。生きるよりよっぽど怖い思いをするかもしれないのに、殺して終わるんだったらあんなに長い間苦しい思いをして我慢した意味がないじゃない。証拠？アドニス？生命？知らないって言ってるでしょ。聞いたこともないわ。知らないの。お願い、家に返して。もう嫌。怖いのはもう嫌。
Also, can I just say, whoever's voice acting this lady is doing an excellent job.
怖い。誰かどうして誰も私は。
Yeah, she's going all out, exactly.
でもそうやね。家に帰ったってどうせまた違う男が現れて私を追い詰めるんだわ。だったら犯罪者として捕まった方がマシかしら。そうよね。私の人生とっくに壊れてるんだから。私は何も知らない。でももういいわ。どうでもいい。逮捕でも何でも好きにしてください。神様なんていない。誰も助けてくれない。私は誰も愛せない。
Very strange.
いいの。
It's like she's forgotten everything. Well, not everything, but forgotten all the stuff that she knew before about Adonis and meeting the love of her life and all that stuff.
彼女の様子を観察したんだけど、嘘はついてないように見えたね。過去のストーカー被害についての言動も矛盾はないし、それに対して強い恨みがあったことも隠してない。
What about the X-Day cases?
何も知らないと主張してる。彼女の言葉に嘘はないよ。
But when I talked to her, she wasn't even trying to hide her involvement. She visibly didn't care that she would be arrested for it. And she indicated that she knew about my collar, the countdown, the 0, and some kind of target. Most of all, she said that she'd found someone she loved, that he saved her like he was a god. That person was most likely the Adonis member who brought her into the fold. I hadn't sensed any dishonesty in the way she talked and acted about her beloved, but in the interview she'd said,
神様なんていない。誰も助けてくれない。私は誰も愛せない。
まるで今の彼女とは別人だね。
a different person.
まあ捕まってもいいって言ってたならそれが答えなんじゃないかな。
Huh?
捕まっても自分が事件の詳細情報やアドニスのことをばらさない自信があった。絶対の自信がね。
That means
記憶を消されたんだよ。
Aw, snap. The seemingly random suggestion was hard to believe, but it was consistent with the facts. Moreover, the suspect arrested for the shooting death on the 7th had refused to speak to police, and more recently had fallen into a similar state. Only the portion of her memories related to Adonis had been erased. One could infer that Sugawara wasn't in Adonis leadership corps, even if she was tied to them. Furthermore, the X-Day countdown had continued even after she was arrested. Several office workers had fallen off of a roof on the 11th. No, someone had pushed them to their deaths. I can't believe they just skipped that. Like, they're just skipping some of these incidents that are happening. Like, knowing what happens on the other routes is kind of crazy that they just drop that these events happen when on other routes they're, like, super significant. That these events happen in the meantime. Yeah, like, for example, in Sazasuka's route, they actually do the whole, like, countdown thing, and they show, like, oh, the office workers were on top of the building, and now we pushed them off the building. And this time they're just like, yeah, that happened. She got flashed with the thing from Men in Black, yeah. On the 15th, the Tokyo Metropolitan Office had been bombed, resulting in numerous deaths. Yeah, like, they're just dropping this. Like, yeah, this happened in the meantime, but more importantly, what about my love life with Okazaki? Oh my gosh. But yeah, like, in Sasuke's route, the one with, like, the office workers getting pushed off a building is, like, focused a lot more. And on Yanagi's route, this incident is focused on a lot more. Like, literally, depending on the route you're on, you're at, like, different scenes. Like, different parts of the crimes, you know? Like, you're actually gonna be at that scene when it happens. So, like, for example, in other routes, you don't actually see the whole, like, guy getting burned alive. You just hear about it in retrospect on other routes. But on this route, we did get to see that whole scene and get to be a part of that whole scene. But there's all these other scenes that we don't really get to see much at all besides in retrospect. But yeah. Yeah, P.S. these people died, yeah. But yeah, like in Yanagi's route, I remember that you get to be here at the Tokyo Metropolitan Office when, like, this whole thing goes down. And you get to, like, shoot people and stuff. A coin had been left at each scene, along with the Roman numeral 1. All of the incidents in December had been accompanied by the 1 countdown. We had assumed that Sugawara would give up some intel on Adonis if she was related to them, but she could just be a disposable pawn, and there were likely many other such agents. Investigations HQ was too understaffed to deal with the scale and frequency of the attacks. SRCPO was being deployed in crisis mode, tasked with gathering as much information as possible. We had no time to investigate past crimes, and of course, I couldn't look into removing my collar. I'm tired.
Oh,
Shirashi, what are you doing here?
たまたま通りかかっただけ。ずいぶん悲壮な顔してるから、ちょっと興味が湧いてね。
It's so like you to not actually be worried about me.
もしかしてだけど、誰かにそれバレたりしてないよね。
He was looking at my neck as he broached the taboo subject. I involuntarily sucked in a breath.
今のところ無事でいるってことは猶予期間かセーフな相手だったってところなのかな。
Shirashi was lost in thought as he analyzed me. I avoided meeting his eyes. There was no point in lying to Shirashi. The best I could do was avoid telling him too much.
でも心の方は無事じゃないみたいだね。
He knows that much? I couldn't ask for help or even get angry. I just held my silence.
たまには息抜きに事務所に行きなよ。柳くんたちも寂しがってるんじゃないかな。
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that because we ended up going with Okazaki, we really don't see any of the team that we were supposed to be working with this entire time. With that parting piece of advice, Shirashi jauntily departed. Maybe that remark was him showing concern. He could also be telling me to consult Yanagi's team for advice, but... With uncanny timing, a new message arrived just as I let out a deep sigh. It's from Yanagi. Can you come by the office today? We want to ask about the July case. I had been sharing information with them since the murders started anew, but I hadn't seen them in person. Work had been too busy, and to be honest, I didn't want to go to the office. There was a good chance that I'd run into Okazaki. I didn't want him to look at me with that icy stare again.
今のところ無事でいるってことは猶予期間かセーフな相手だったってところなのかな。
Shirashi's analysis had been dead on. I'd only been given a grace period. The criminal behind the collar was probably determining whether Okazaki could be trusted with the information. I can't carry this on my own anymore. I wanted to speak with people who were familiar with the situation. Understood. I'll stop by when work permits. I sent a reply and returned to my work with a heavy heart. It had been a week since I'd pointed my gun at her. Her terrified eyes were still filled with emotion. I'd figured that she had some circumstance that led her to work with IG's team. Of course, I had reported her to my superiors the next day and cautiously observed her from the next few following that. But as I got to know her, all I learned was that she was someone who wasn't any real threat. She didn't show a hint of malice. Yeah, we've been getting some of these. It's usually like a couple perspective shifts throughout the routes. My instincts told me that it was an extremely small possibility. I knew this because we were polar opposites. Because I knew my own personality well, I was sure that she wasn't the type of person who could concoct lies easily. If I were to tell a lie that hurt you, what would you do? I feel the same way. The things that I'm trying to protect are very important to me. No, you were just worried. Thank you for holding my hand. Okazaki, you're strong. She had been saddled with a poisoned collar and threatened, yet she persisted in trying to solve the case and doing her police duty. Probably all while feeling a sense of guilt. I knew it once they pointed a gun at her. She hadn't tried to make any excuses. Mentally, I laughed bitterly. I felt that the premonition I'd had in my mind was beginning to coalesce into reality.
先輩聞いてください。ついにゲットしましたよ。何暗いとこでぼーっとしてるんですか。ほらほらこっち来て見てくださいよ。じゃーん、カロリーブロックこんにゃく味。先輩ずっと食べたがってましたよね。
ああ、うん。
こんな意味わかんないブツ食べたがるの先輩ぐらいのもんすよ。店頭から消える前に変えてよかった。
うん、よかった。
なんか反応薄いっすね。あ、 じゃあこっちはドーン、信州味噌もつ煮込みグミ。これ食べた人の感想を聞きましたけど強烈らしいっすよ。
Yep.
そっか、楽しみだね。
これもダメっすか。じゃあとっておきのじゃじゃじゃーん、生子ポテトチップス。磯の香りを完全再現したつわもの。
Honestly, I feel like I would try sea cucumber potato chips. That sounds
先
actually
に言っ
kind
と
of
きますけ
good.
ど俺は絶対食べたくないっす。だからいつもみたいに無理やり口に入れないでください。絶対ですよ。絶対やらないでくださいね。
Yoshinari is trying so hard.
ありがとう。
He's
前
trying.
振りだったのに、いつもの先輩だったら無言で笑顔で俺の口にねじ込むはずなのに、なんか今日の先輩超ノリ悪い。一体どうしちゃったんですか？
Do they just squeeze the sea cucumber milk over the chip? I do not know. I do not know.
大丈夫だよ。ちょっと考え事してるだけ。
ちょっとこっち来てください。先輩、本当に大丈夫っすか？
うん？何が？
この前からずーっとぼんやりしてますよ。まあぼんやりはいつものことっすけど、元気がないっていうか、俺がやらかしてもヘッドロックかまさないし、ゲテモノ菓子は食べないし、生返事だし、道端で寝たりしないし、何より笑顔がない先輩なんて不気味っていうか怖いっていうか。
体調は悪くないよ。
そうじゃなくて、ああもう切り返しまでずれすぎだし。もしかしてなんか迷ってるんすか？いつも即断即決の先輩がそんな風に考え込むなんて珍しいじゃないですか。
迷ってるか。
He was right. I was lost. No, not quite. I was still deciding whether my premonition was wrong or not.
もしかしたら彼女が俺の。
もしかして彼女のことっすか？
相変わらず変なところ鋭いな。
I was impressed.
吉成くんに心配されるなんて確かにちょっと重症かもしれないね。
その言い方はひどくないっすか？でもその方がいつもの先輩らしいんで今日は許します。
心配かけてごめんね。ありがとう。
やっぱり先輩熱あります？今日は俺に任せて休んでもいいっすよ。
To express my gratitude for my cheeky and endlessly amusing partner, I wrapped around an arm around his neck,
先輩。
and then I started squeezing.
先輩しまってるっす。ぐるし死ぬ。
大丈夫。吉成くんはこれくらいじゃ死なないよ。
Once I felt like I properly expressed my gratitude, I let him go. Male affection be like. Yeah. Oh my god.
俺にも限界ってもんが。あれ星野さんじゃないっすか？事務所に来るの久しぶりっすね。先輩も彼女と話せばきっと元気出ますよ。おーい星野さん。ドギー首が折れる。またっすか？なんで今日は首狙い撃ち？
静かにして。
話してくれたら静かになるっす。だからお願い話して。
Poor Yoshinari. Keeping an eye on Yoshinari, I sighed and rested against the wall again. My eyes followed the path she'd
あ
taken.
んなことがあっても事務所に来るってことはまだ諦めてないのかな。
The premonition I'd had was growing
彼
stronger.
女に会って確かめるしかないか。
A Any suspicions I'd had that she might actually be connected to the criminals had pretty much disappeared. Her actions, reactions, and implied thought process had been enough to demonstrate her innocence to me. I wanted to see her in person and remove my remaining doubts. I only had one premonition left. If she didn't run from me once I directly put the question to her, she could be the ideal person I've been seeking. Someone I've been seeking for a long, long time. The ideal one who would grant my wish. My prediction had already become conviction. Now we're back to Ichika! Good afternoon, huh? It was unusual for Yanagi to be the only one in the office. Where's Sasatsuka and Inamoto?
6月の事件の新情報が入ってな。それを確認しに出かけた。
I'm surprised that even Sasatsuka went out to check on it. My mental image of Sasatsuka was of him permanently attached to a seat in front of his computer, so it was hard to imagine him going outside.
情報がガセがそうじゃないかで榎本と言い合いになって、売り言葉に買い言葉で付き合うことになったんだ。
Amazing. He does seem pretty short-tempered. Maybe he was actually the type that was easy to provoke.
呼び出したのに俺だけで悪いな。
Please, don't worry about it. I sat down on the sofa across from Yanagi. He shrugged his shoulders.
顔色が悪くないか？
最
近メールの反応も鈍かったしな。何かあったんじゃないかと心配していた。
I finally found her. The ideal girlfriend who indulged my pet play kink. Amazing. I considered airing all of my worries once I'd gotten here. But now that I had no idea where I should begin. Yanagi sighed softly as he saw me struggling to break the silence.
ちょっと待ってろ。
He got up and went to the kitchen. After a couple minutes, Yanagi returned with a coffee mug. Oh, that smells like... I thought he'd brewed me tea. Oh my gosh, that snuck up on me. Jeebus. Please sit. Collapses. Amazing. Why does her sitting down sound like she just dropped to the floor? Yeah. Please sit. Collapses. I thought he brewed me tea, but the mug contained hot cocoa.
疲れてる時は甘いものが効くだろう。
Thank you. I raised the mug so that it hid part of my face. There was plenty of hot cocoa inside. I took a sip, sighed, and instantly felt more at ease.
俺でよければ話してみてくれ。話しにくいことなら無理はしなくていい。
Buoyed by Yanagi's kindness, I slowly opened my mouth. The truth is... I explained what Sugawara had said and how Okazaki had found out about the collar.
そうか。
Yanagi murmured, sinking into silent thought. In the end, even though Sugawara and Ogata were arrested, we couldn't gain any leads on Adonis. Meanwhile, the casualties keep rising. And I realized this from the way Okazaki reacted. I might lead the way to solving the case, but I'm throwing off the investigation. I wonder if we can really solve the X-Day cases. Even though I knew that the terrorists were listening via the collar, I couldn't help but express lament. Once the words started coming, they just wouldn't stop flowing out. Now that I've thrust myself into the thick of it, I know that this won't wrap itself up neatly. I talk confidently about being able to listen to what people are saying, but I couldn't even have a proper conversation with Sugawara. I don't have a grasp on the truth of the crimes. All I'm learning is how complacent the police have been. I sighed deeply. Yanagi rose from his seat and came over to sit down next to me.
Gora.
Oh my gosh, Rolf! Amazing. He poked me in the forehead.
弱気になるのも不安になるのも怖くてたまらないのも全部わかる。でも諦めたらそこで終わりだ。事件のことも首輪のことも誰かが解決しないとならないことだ。俺たちもできる限りのことをする。だがお前が諦めたら意味がないだろう。
I can consider yourself lucky he stopped at his trousers, yeah. Yanagi.
諦めるな。倒れそうになったら背中ぐらい貸してやる。
Yanagi, it's not even your route! What do you mean? It's not even your route!
だから絶対に諦めるな。
Can't believe we see all the signs that there should have been a polygamy route and it just keeps not being a reality and you hate to see it. His repeated and passionate insistence that I refuse to surrender sank deeply into my exhausted mind. Of course it is. This is the poly route. Yeah, if only. He's right. I can't give up. It's all over if I do. Thank you. I absolutely won't give in. Yagi nodded with satisfaction at my answer and returned to his former seat.
ところで岡崎の件だが。
I twitched at Yanagi mentioning his name out of the blue.
SP という人種は少し特殊だ。身体能力や判断力はもちろんだが、何より求められるのは自己犠牲の精神。いざという時、自分の命を投げ出してでも、要警護者を守るという気概が必要な職業だ。
Yes, I
だ
know.
が、それはいいことばかりじゃない。SP が守るのはあくまで要人や危険が迫った人間。つまり、警護対象が何よりも最優先される。
Okazaki hates us now that he's seen the collar, so we're switching to Yanagi.
自分の
Amazing.
命も犠牲にする。
Turns out there's no Okazaki route, it's just Yanagi or Yanagi route.
一般市民の犠牲でさえ見ないふりをする。
Can you imagine, like, that? I mean, I guess basically that's like Doki Doki Literature Club in a nutshell, but like, I'm just thinking about like a regular game where like there appears to be multiple love interests, but then it turns out that you're just gonna end up with the same person regardless. To protect your principal, is he school security or something? Amazing. Yanagi's description made me distinctly aware of how unique the SP
警
was.
察としては正しい姿かもしれないが、俺はそう簡単には割り切れなくてな。
Yanagi's complicated expression was pained, and he folded his hands.
例えば、重要人物を守らなければならないときに、大事な家族に危険が迫っていたら、誰だって迷うだろう。だが、それを迷わないのが SP なんだ。
I gave some thought to Yanagi's words. For instance, if Okazaki's principal and I were in the same place and I was held at gunpoint, Okazaki would protect his principal. That was obvious. As an SP, he was committed to the mission. The altercation at Sugawara's was the same. He hadn't hesitated to draw his weapon on me when he thought I might be working with the enemy. I understood that, but for some reason, it also depressed me.
岡崎とはもう接触しない方がいい。首輪のことがバレた以上、いつ警察内部に密告されるかわからない。心根は悪いやつじゃないと思う。が、徹底して SP という職務に忠実だ。お前とは相入れないと思う。
You might be right. The more I thought about it, the worse I felt. Perhaps seeing my gloomy expression, Yanagi lightened his tone to try and alter the mood.
協力しろと言っておきながら、これまでまともに手伝えなくて悪かった。お前にも仕事があって大変だろうが、明日から俺と組まないか。
But won't I just slow you down? He's just trying to get between you and his rival.
一人で
Amazing.
動こうとしても、今はどこから手をつけていいかわからない状態だろ。
Yes.
なら、俺のサポートしてくれ。お前が手伝ってくれなら、俺も助かる。
I was happy for the offer, but I hesitated to take him up on it. Maybe that's just an excuse. Actually, if I teamed up with Yanagi, I was pretty worried that I just might never speak to Okazaki again. I decided not to give him an answer right away and left the office for today. When I went outside, the sun had long since set. A chill wind blew from the north. I really don't want to avoid him and stop speaking to him. If I avoided him, I was sure I'd only deepen his suspicions. He's not here, huh? I looked around to check if he was hanging around the office.
あれって先輩を探してるんじゃないですかね。
I turned around at the familiar voice. Yoshinari was watching me from an alleyway.
ああ、見つかっちゃった。ほらほら先輩、見つかっちゃったら仕方ないっすね。
Yoshinari.
吉成くん、君。
ああ、ここで逃げたらおかしいな。星野さんに変だって思われちゃうな。
Oh noes. Yoshinari wants to be beat up. That's what I'm learning about all this. Okazaki walked this way, spurred on Yoshinari's goading.
おっと、自分は風が冷たいからここから出たくないっす。はあ、寒い寒い。
Yoshinari! He's a masochist, yeah. What was he doing? Yoshinari ducked back into the alley. He probably thought that he was doing us a romantic favor by leaving us alone. He was!
1週間ぶりだね。
Yeah. Gotta love the troll character, yeah. Okazaki wasn't smiling. He watched me with a slightly tense expression. But he wasn't showing the caution or hostility toward me that I expected. Maybe he wasn't in a good mood, but it was still a relief to me.
一つお願いがあるんだ。
I looked up at his quiet voice.
もう柳さんたちには関わらないで。
え？
君はとっくに気づいてたと思うけど、俺が柳さんたちを警護するのはあくまで表向きの任務。
He's like, I can't let Yanagi take my spot. He tried too many times.
俺の本当の任務は彼らを監視してその動向を上に報告すること。
Oh my gosh. I'd suspected that, but it really was true that the police leadership suspected Yanagi's team and deployed Okazaki on false pretenses. They're a group of competent ex-officers. It makes sense to keep tabs on
彼らに
them.
関わってる以上、俺は君のことも報告しなくちゃいけない。
That also seemed like common sense given his mission.
確か首輪の声は君の事情を口外したら殺すって言ってたよね。俺の存在は見過ごしたみたいだけど、これからの行動次第で君の命が危険にさらされるってことはわかる。この会話もあっちに聞かれてるんでしょ。
Yes.
本来なら君のことを報告しなきゃいけない。警察に首輪の件もばらすことになる。
Okazaki really had avoided telling anyone because of the warning he'd received from the caller, and now he was telling me to stay away from Yanagi's group out of concern for my well-being. But I'm stuck with it unless I investigate more. I can't get this caller off alone. I hesitated, unable to answer. Okazaki murmured sadly.
俺はいざとなったら君を撃つことすらしなきゃいけない。警護と監視、それが今の任務だけど、それを別にしても警察に反する人間は見過ごせないから、そうなってしまったら
Yep.
俺は君を守れない。
I don't want him to shoot me. Oh my gosh, it's just how straightforward that is so funny. But yeah, definitely going off what he said earlier about whether Ichika would run away or not is the most important thing. Come on, then shoot me, fucking do it, you won't. Coward. I don't want to run from him. I understand. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't shocked, but I could accept that what he was saying. On the contrary, I respected his steadfast determination as a police officer. I want to live up to that. If you decide that I'm leading things astray, then I want you to shoot me without hesitation. I'll try not to get any closer to Yanagi's team than I have to, so you won't have to report me. But I'm not going to stop investigating the X-Day cases. Well, the conditions the caller imposed upon me, but more than that, because I want to. I want to solve them and fix Shinjuku. I want to protect the people who live here. So I'm not going to run away. I firmly and clearly stated my determination to Okazaki. I made sure it wouldn't seem like the lip service. I purposely gave myself no wiggle room to retreat. The cold wind blew between us. After a while, he quietly whispered, Eh?
やっぱり君だ。
Then he made that smile I knew. No, it was something I'd never seen from him. It was a brilliant smile. Like he'd found a precious treasure.
そっか。わかった。君にはちゃんと覚悟があるんだね。
But that smile only lasted a moment. Immediately, he was back to his usual lazy smile. I'd only sensed it for an instant, but that smile he displayed had seemed genuinely, fantastically happy. I found her, the perfect human sacrifice for the ritual. My determination must have gone across. Also, Okazaki, I'm sorry for hurting you.
なんで謝るの?
Okazaki's words had opened my eyes to the painful truth, and because of that, I'd learned something. I knew now that the real Okazaki was a very kind person. He's helped me so much. I knew that it was hard for him to point a gun at someone that he had said he'd protect. I'm really sorry for hiding the truth from you, and for making you feel bad for reacting to it the way you did. Okazaki blinked. He was clearly surprised. His face told me he hadn't expected an apology.
I need to reset the internet. No one else can get on.
His face told me he hadn't expected an apology.
やっぱり君ってすごいね。
え?
謝る必要なんてないよ。俺こそごめんね。
What are you apologizing for? I tilted my head curious. Okazaki looked up at the sky.
君は怖くないの？犯人に脅されてることだけじゃない。俺は君に銃を向けた。
He slowly asked the question as if he wanted to be sure I understood him. He directed his gaze back downward until he was staring straight at me.
自分のことで精一杯なはずなのに、俺の心配までしてる。どうして逃げたいって思わないの?
Of course I'm scared, I answered honestly. I'm scared that I don't know how to help, and that I could be killed at any time. Yes, I had always been uneasy and afraid of that. I wondered why this had to happen to me. Yeah, stream cameo, exactly. Every time I had felt lost, Okazaki had returned me to reality. With his resolute, straightforward determination, he taught me how to remain rational. It had to be because he had pride in his own work. As a fellow police officer, I want to follow his example. I'm a police officer. If there's a chance I'll jeopardize the investigation and cause more casualties as a result, then I should absolutely be sacrificed. I think that as a police officer, I need to have that conviction, so I don't want to give up on helping out in any way that I can. Okazaki was quiet for a while.
君は強いね。
Then his expression softened, and he spoke with a smile.
よくわかった。
That was all he said. Then Okazaki left before I could stop him. He had completely vanished from the street. Yoshinari ran over in a panic.
もしかしてうまくいかなかったんですか？もったいないっす。あんなできる男他には絶対いないっすから。確かに人の良さそうな顔して容赦ないし、おっとりぼんやり見せて意外と細かいし、いろいろと面倒な人ですけど、でも
Yoshinari's trying to be a wingman, amazing. Apparently Yoshinari had misunderstood things. As I was unsure how to answer, Yoshinari stood up straight.
星野さん。
Yes?
ちょっと俺語りますね。
Okay?
俺星野さんにはちゃんと先輩のことを分かってもらいたいんです。今の先輩が変なのは多分星野さん絡みだと思うから。
Well, I'd like to know more about him too, please.
あの人はですね。見えて すっごく自分に厳しいんですよ。普段おっとりしてるから俺も最初はびっくりしたんですけど、こうと決めたことを絶対にやり抜く強い意志を持っててブレないんです。自分は守る側だからって。なんていうか、自分のことは二の次にして相手に全部捧げちゃうようなとこがあって、だからかな、いざっていう時の判断力が半端ないっていうか、シビアだけど的確で全く迷いがない。
This translation. Amazing.
多分職種的にも迷っちゃいけないって自分を戒めてるとこあるんじゃないかな。だからあの人が迷うなんて普通だったらありえない。なのになんかあの人最近おかしいんですよ。本気で迷ってるように見えるんです。仕事を放ってまで別のことに意識が向いてるっていうか、本当に今までこんなことなかったんです。
Yeah, the translation was so casual, yeah.
だからもし星野さんが何か知ってるなら元気づけてあげてくれないかな。
Like, it gave me the same vibe as when Hijikata ended up cussing during the playthrough that we had in Hakuoki, and it was like, whoa, what?
あ、俺の思い違いだったら申し訳ないっす。別のことで悩んでるのかもしれないし。
No, that's probably my fault. Yoshinari, you really look up to Okazaki, don't you?
はい、厳しいとこもありますけど、あの人が俺の先輩でよかったって思ってます。俺たち SP って本来は要人警護がメインじゃないですか。よく偉い人間を守ることしか頭にないとか、一般人は見捨てる情のない人間だって言われることもあるんですけど、そういうので俺が怒ったことがあって、その時先輩に言われたんです。俺たちは SP は国にとって特別なものを守ってる。それがいつかは普通に生きてる人たちのためにもなるって信じてるから強くいられる。あの人を見てたら俺も強くなれるんです。目の前のものにとらわれて守るべきものを見失っちゃダメだよなって。
Yeah. Okazaki's a straightforward man.
だからできればですけど、あの人のこと捨てないであげてください。
Aww. Maybe you do have the wrong idea after all.
長いこと引き止めちゃってすみません。先輩いないし今日は俺が送りますね。
Amazing. The next day, I was absentmindedly filing some paperwork at my desk. I think with that, let's save and call it a day for today. I think that's a good place to stop. We're making some progress. Things are happening. What a wild ride today was in game. Crazy. But yeah. Anyways, let's go to main menu so we're not hearing constant phone rings. But yeah, so I think we'll call it there for today. Yeah, ring, 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 ring. Banana phone. Do, 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 do. Yeah, I do gotta head off to do some work. Got work in like about an hour. So I gotta go soon. But thank you all for joining. Thanks for joining Rolf and Lives, Meaning and Pond Water and Adam. I love you all very much. Thanks for joining. We'll continue on next time, next Monday, for more Color X Malice. Saturday will once again be VN night, after we skipped a week. But we'll be back on Saturday for more VN night. I'm not quite sure what we'll play yet, because I just posted the poll, so we'll see what we're doing. but I'm excited to return for VN Night. But yeah, so thank you guys all so much for joining today. Let's see who we shall raid. Let's see who's alive. A lot of people are alive, but since today we were doing a visual novel stream, an otome visual novel stream to be precise, it's probably the best we raid Sarah. Since Sarah is an expert in all things otome game. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for joining. I love each and every one of you so much. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!